No, you want a neighbor like me. Cleaning up Queens NYC, and I do it even better with the tape. Welcome back to the Nerdy Grail, and once again, another week has passed and another 3 episodes has dropped for your friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man. This time, episode 6, 7, and 8. And wow, stakes are really getting high now in this series. And next week, we have the 2-part finale. Episodes 9 and 10 will drop, and that'll be it for season 1. I can't believe we're already at the end of this series. It feels like yesterday that I remember putting on episodes 1 and 2. But no, we've just had episode 6, which is titled Duel with the Devil, episode 7, Scorpion Rising, and episode 8, Tangled Web. And we've had a lot of new revelations, a lot of new characters now being built up, now being finalised. Some of my predictions from the last video have come true, and I am not surprised, so I will be discussing those shortly. But overall, I can say I am really enjoying this series. I was really skeptical back when the teaser trailers and all came out from it, but now after watching the series, I can safely say, at least in my opinion, I know some people might disagree with me, and that's okay, but I'm really actually enjoying your friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man for what it's worth, and I'm really looking forward to the season finale next week. But I'm going to waste no more time. I'm going to jump straight into my little breakdown of each episode that dropped tonight, starting with episode 6, Duel with the Devil. Okay, so episode 6, Duel with the Devil, as the title suggests, we did get a clip a little while ago for episode 6, hinting at the return or the debut in this series of a certain character who we knew was coming. Yeah, I'm talking about Charlie Cox returning as Daredevil. Now, in the 3 episodes, this is the only time he appears, but he does have a bit of a crucial part to play in setting up possibly a future event that might happen in the finale or in an upcoming season. But it was really nice to see him playing Daredevil again in animated form this time as well. So it's just his voice, but it was really, really cool. So this episode, you do really get to see the downfall, in particular, of Lonnie Lincoln, because, and I predicted it before, I said that because he's joined this gang, because he's now taken on the name Tombstone, which he gets called that quite a lot in this episode, his relationships with his family is going to deteriorate, his relationship with Peter's going to deteriorate, his relationship with his partner is also going to deteriorate, and all those things happened over the course of these 3 episodes. He does end up breaking up with his partner. He does fall out a little bit with Peter. There's a little bit of a clash that happens in a future episode. He gets kicked off the football team, which we knew was going to happen. He's missing classes. And what I find quite funny in this episode is when Lonnie started teaming up with Peter towards the start of the series, Peter went from a nobody to a somebody. But in this episode, because Lonnie's no longer around, people seem to have forgotten who Peter is, and all through the episode they're like, wait, who are you again? What's your name? I can't remember. It's quite funny in that respect. But yeah, so it's an interesting little episode, and you can really see how it's affecting Lonnie in terms of his family. He's arguing with his parents. He's had a major falling out with his brother, Andre, so it's really hitting home. But then on Peter's side of things, obviously he's having to tangle his relationship with Nico and Harry, who are now Peter's sort of... At the start of the episode, I thought Peter had fallen out with Nico because Nico was ignoring him, but after inviting Harry to the cinema to watch movies with them without telling Nico. But you sort of, over these episodes, get to feel Nico and Harry build a stronger bond, which is quite nice. And right towards the end of this episode, we do go back to Dr. Octavius, and we get to see Matt Gargan again, who does actually suit up in a prototype scorpion armor, like armor plating, big scorpion tail, looks really, really cool. So we actually get the proper scorpion now starting to rise, hence the next title of an episode called Scorpion Rising. But so that's really interesting, and it's good to see what Otto's getting up to in the mix as well. Yeah, it was a fairly straightforward episode. I quite liked it. It was a shame that, we didn't get to see a lot of Daredevil. It was just one scene where he hints that actually Norman Osborn might actually be hiding something from Peter, so that's quite interesting. I sort of suspect that Norman is hiding something from Peter. Don't necessarily know if it's for an evil purpose or not, but he's definitely hiding something. The reason he encounters Daredevil is because when Peter, Nico, and Harry are sort of having a night off, Norman's at this gala party where he bumps into General Ross, and they talk about Sokovia Accords, and he tells Ross all about Spider-Man. He gets an alert that someone's breaking into Oscorp, which happens to be Daredevil, who's trying to find out what Norman's up to. And so Peter then has to leave in order to fight Daredevil and find out what's going on. Yeah, it is a really, really interesting episode. I would say not Scorpion Rising, Duel with the Devil, I would say for me, is probably a 6 out of 10. You've got some good character development going on between the relationship of Harry and Nico, starting to bond a little bit here. So they've got a sort of a thing going on. Tension's a little bit high with Peter. And then obviously you've got everything that's going on with Otto on the sidelines of building up an army of superpowered villains using gamma radiation, might I add, but we'll go into that a little bit more in the next episode. But yeah, overall, I would say Duel of the Devil, I give it a 6 out of 10. Not a bad start to this trio of episodes. But let's move straight on into episode 7, Scorpion Rising. Right, so Scorpion Rising is where everything sort of reaches like a big climax, and you get like diverging pathways, and you get relationships breaking down. Both Lonnie and Peter lose someone dear to them in terms of their relationship breaks down. Peter destroys his relationship with Nico, and Lonnie ends it with his partner. And also Peter, just everyone. He almost cuts ties with pretty much everyone and decides to go along with the crew instead, which then is furthered then in episode 8. But yeah, so in this episode, now Scorpion has now got his armor, he's got his tail and everything. He's sort of now going to use that technology to take down the rival gang and claim their turf and deem himself as top dog. So you've got all that going on. You've also got then Peter and Norman, who are trying to find out who the ringleader of everything is, which they find out that is Dr. Otto Octavius, which Norman gives us a bit of backstory that him and Otto used to work together, which we sort of expected, and that Otto left because he wasn't happy with some of the decisions that Norman was making. He referenced that he wanted to use gamma in his research, and Norman refused to let him, and so he called him a coward. There's some brilliant little references to other Spider-Man media in this as well. When they're talking about the different metals and different materials that Otto could be using for his gadgets that he's building, I think Peter mentions the tritium from Spider-Man 2. They also talk about solar energy, and there's a big sun that appears on this holographic map of New York. And Norman says, I don't think he has managed to harness the power of the sun yet. And I just chuckled at that because I thought, yeah, the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. Alfred Molina was going around in my head there, so I thought that was a really nice little touch, nice little reference. But yeah, so it's really interesting they're referencing gamma radiation as well. I kept thinking because of that they were going to talk about the Hulk, talk about Bruce Banner, because we know the Avengers are out there. They've talked about Tony Stark and Iron Man, which, speaking of Tony Stark, we do actually get to see Iron Man, which we knew he was coming. He appears in this episode briefly to help take down and seemingly capture and defeat Otto Octavius, but we know that's not the case. That's just going to be a temporary thing. But yeah, so we do actually get to see Tony and Iron Man. So that's really cool. But yeah, so they work together to try and work out where Otto could be. In the meantime, obviously Spider-Man has to deal with all of his social life as well, deal with Harry, deal with Nico. Unfortunately, Harry did reveal at the end of the last episode to Nico that Peter is Spider-Man, which makes Nico really upset. She loses all faith and trust in Peter, and so they've fallen out. So Harry tries to repair that relationship. He takes Nico out for pizza, takes her on a drive, and they sort of build their own little bond, which is really, really cool and quite neat as well. You know, it's nice that Harry's getting a lot more to do, and they're fleshing out Nico more. I really like everything that they're doing with those two characters. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with them going forward. So they've built a bit of a bond, and Harry's trying to convince Nico to forgive Peter, because there's obviously a reason why he held the Spider-Man identity a secret. And it's obvious. It's because he obviously wants to protect her, protect the ones he loves. So that's really neat. And there's a massive collision and fight between, Lonnie, Big Don, all the rest of his crew, and Scorpion towards the end. Pearl goes to the warehouse where Lonnie's crew is, and gets sort of mixed up in the Scorpion battle, and so Peter's got to swing in, save the day. But we find out that he's no match for Scorpion. Scorpion easily defeats him, which really knocks Peter for 6, and it sort of destroys his faith in his abilities and makes Norman question whether he's putting everything into being the best Spider-Man he could possibly be, and it scares Peter. A little bit of a twist at the end as well is when Peter's down and out, he's trying to call Norman for help, but Norman's not at Oscorp. But then this, I want to say it was like a prototype Goblin glider came in and saved Peter. So they are definitely hinting at Norman potentially, or Harry could. There's going to be a Goblin coming. I think there's going to be a Green Goblin coming, that's for sure, if I'm being honest. But there was a hint of that, which saved Peter, and he got medical treatment in the end. So it's, again, another fairly solid episode. I love what they did with Scorpion. Scorpion is a menace, and he is so threatening, and I love it. So I was really, really happy with that. So I'd say overall, I preferred this episode over episode 6, and I would say, yeah, this episode is probably my favourite of the trio, actually. So I'd probably give this an 8 out of 10. It was fairly solid, but then it all comes to climax then in episode 8, which I'll pause the video, and I'm going to give you my brief thoughts on episode 8, Tangled Web. Finally, we've got episode 8, titled Tangled Web. And what's quite interesting is after you watch the intro, the little comic book strip picture is that of Peter putting his suit in the bin and walking away, almost like I'm stepping down from Spider-Man. And that is sort of what this episode sort of feels like. Is Peter questioning whether or not he's doing the right thing in being Spider-Man, whether he truly can be the best Spider-Man he can be, and whether he should keep on going. Because he's not actually Spider-Man in this episode. He is just Peter dealing with all the worries and the stress of everything. You know, he comes to breaking point in this episode where he's truly struggling. He even goes to May, lets her know that he's struggling, like he's messing everything up. He's lost Nico. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to keep going with Norman, because Norman's even questioning him. You know, his social life is down the pan. Lonnie's not talking to him. It's just everything's going wrong for Peter. So in both aspects of his life, both Peter and Spider-Man, because that's the thing with Peter. Usually at least one half of his life is going well, but in this aspect, nothing is going well. And so he does feel like a tangled mess, which is a shame, really. But there's an iconic moment in this episode, and the most iconic moment in this episode is when Peter's goes to Norman for some, you know, manly advice, because he doesn't have Uncle Ben in his life. And that's what Aunt May says, is you need to have someone that you can go to talk to, have that male chat. And he goes to Norman about everything, to talk about his problems, about how Spider-Man should be protecting people, but he feels like he's failing at that. And Norman questions him, and we think he's going to do the iconic line of, with great power comes great responsibility. But he does his own little twist on it, and I've seen this in other Spider-Man media. I saw it in the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show for Disney. I've seen it in other media for Spider-Man as well, but he goes, with great power comes great respect. So he does his own little twist on it. And I think it's quite interesting that Norman's the one giving Peter this little pep talk and giving him that great power, great responsibility talk. It is quite interesting. But it does give Peter poise for thought, and eventually he does get back out there, because this is the episode, and I knew it was coming. I didn't know whether it was going to happen in the finale or whether it was going to be built into the finale, but this is the episode where Peter gets his classic red and blue suit, because obviously the previous suit got destroyed during the fight with Scorpion, but Harry says that he's had his team working on a new suit. He remembered the sketchbook that Peter had. He also remembered talks they had about it making it colourful. And you get a glimpse in Peter's glasses of the classic Spider-Man mask. The mask with the webbing and the white eyes with the black outlines. He's going to have his classic suit in the finale, which is great. And I knew it was coming, but I possibly thought it might have happened at the end of the finale, ready for season 2. But no, we're going to get it for the finale, which is great. And I am really looking forward to the finale. Tangled Web is where obviously Lonnie's fully cut ties with everyone now. He's proper integrated into the gang. We see a glimpse of Chameleon, I believe, was in this episode as well, who was giving the crew the location of Dr. Otto Octavius because they want to power themselves up. I'm wondering if now maybe we might get Tombstone properly powered up Lonnie Lincoln in the finale, perhaps, or maybe for season 2 at least. So we'll wait and see how it goes. We also get conversations with Dr. Connors. And they're bringing in animals into the lab. And Dr. Connors does look at one of the cages in particular. So I don't know if that's hinting at potentially the lizard for the future. Because if they start experimenting with animals, Dr. Connors will experiment with the lizards. We'll see how that goes from here. It's interesting. And it's a fairly decent episode. I'd say I'd probably give this episode a 6 or a 7 if I'm being generous. They are quite balanced across the board. And they have really set up the future events. So the finale is going to be really interesting. Whether or not we're going to see Goblin, whether we're going to see Otto with his tentacles, because we do actually get to see Otto with the tentacles in episode 7. Not using them, but they're coming down from the ceiling and stuff. So I am looking forward to seeing that. So when we're going to have Doc Ock, whether we're going to get the lizard, whether we're going to get proper Tombstone. I'm just really looking forward to this finale next week. It's only 2 episodes left. We've had 8 so far, and so far this series has been overall fairly enjoyable. I've enjoyed it. I know some people haven't, but I do know that this has been given a decently warm welcome. But that is going to be my review on the 3 episodes that dropped tonight, episodes 6, 7, and 8 of your friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving it a thumbs up. Comment down below. Are you excited for the finale next week? And which episode was your favourite? And subscribe if you are new. But for now, this is the Nitty Girl signing off. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now, everyone.